So I do video proposals. So it basically is me doing a screen share of the proposal, walking people through it. Before, I would have to create a proposal. It probably takes maybe an hour, could be more, depending on how big the deal is. Now that takes, I don't know, 5 minutes.
Get out.
Because I already have the information. I just input it and it fills it out.
Show me the money. Let's talk tuna. Always be closing. With AI enhancing productivity in every field, sales is clearly a critical one. So how is AI changing the face of sales as we know it? And how is it driving revenue and cutting costs? Today, we are so lucky to be joined by Morgan Ingram, founder and CEO of Amp Creative, a sales guru with huge AI chops. Welcome, Morgan.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Over the past couple of years, everything has changed. AI has come in and has fundamentally changed the way we do practically everything. But what about the sales team? What tools are they using and what does a typical day look like for them?
So the main thing that you have to look at is when things change is what has not changed. So the main thing in a sales cycle is you need to acquire net new business, which is pipeline generation or prospecting. You then need to develop that pipeline, which is basically your discovery, negotiation, et cetera. You're then closing those deals, which is negotiation, and then you are nurturing those or for renewals and upsells. That's like the 4 stages of the entire revenue cycle. There's nuances, but that's it. So then the next stage of that is like, how do you incorporate AI into those 4 stages? And how do you actually get your sellers to have more active selling time? So the current active selling time for most sellers is like 27%, which is an F.
What is active selling time?
So active selling time is how active are the sellers actually doing a call or doing some type of pipeline generation. Most of the things that they're doing are admin, filling in tasks inside of a CRM, like doing admin work, following up. So it's like you're hired someone to sell, but then they're not selling. That doesn't make any sense, right? It's like that's just, what are we doing? So that's where AI comes into play to then increase that active selling time for the seller so they can actually do their job. And the way that I think about it is you have to write down what are the things that are actually taking up the most time for you. I'll name 5, there's a lot, but there's 5 things that you actually want to drill into. Number 1 is following up on your sales calls. So this is something that I tactically do myself. This is what I coach teams to do. Let's say you had a discovery call. It was 30 minutes. Back in the day, you would have to take all your notes. You would have to compile them together to write up a summary email for a follow-up. Now you can take the transcript of that call, if you have a call recording tool, which most people do nowadays, and you can actually put it into any tool. I have a prompt that basically summarizes the call. It then creates the email and it takes like 10 seconds.
Wait, you have a prompt. So what's special about your prompt though?
What's special about the prompt is it already is formulated based on the follow-up that I typically would do. So it's already broken down to the stages.
Okay.
So my stages of my follow-up email is recapping. It's like, here are the decision priorities and your goals that we learned from the call. Here's the timeline and where you're looking to implement this. And here are the next steps. And then that's it, unless they wanted more information. So it just takes the call, it synthesizes it, and then now my follow-up email is already ready to go. I don't have to do this additional work because AI is going to be able to capture the things that I might have missed. My goal is just to show up to the conversation and use what's there. That's 1 of 5. So the second thing that you do is, this is actually one of my favorite things I've been doing right now. So if we go back to stage 1, which is pipeline generation, every single year a stat comes out and says the hardest thing in the sales cycle is prospecting and pipeline generation. It's very hard to get someone's attention to then take 30 minutes with you. So what I recommend people to do is, if you're on a sales team right now, go to your executive team and say, hey, what is the things that you have responded to, email, LinkedIn, whatever it is, and send it to me. Take all those emails, you can screenshot the emails, put it into whatever AI database you want, and then you can have a prompt that basically says, can you analyze these emails or these LinkedIn messages? Tell me the length of them. Tell me what psychologically, why did people respond to them? Tell me the NLP and tell me the behaviors of why people responded. So then what it'll do is you'll give you an output of all the things of why this person actually responded. And then you can take the framework of that, which will give it to you. And then now you can have your whole team now write messages off that. So this is 2 of 5.
That's genius.
We're still going. We're still going.
Go ahead.
I can stop.
No.
Okay.
I do. That is really interesting to actually try to get the
Yeah.
LLM to analyze what has been successful to your peers.
Exactly.
And then recreate it. So that's awesome.
Because most people will say, well, what's the best response? I get this question a lot, like, hey, what's the best response rate in the mechanical industry in Spain? I'm like, I don't even know what that even means. Like, you don't even know what that even means, right?
Of course
so
not.
I was like, the easiest thing for you to do is do what I just said. Like, just go ask people in the industry, compile responses, and you'll have a way better answer than what I'm going to give you. So that's like my answer to that. The third thing is, when you are looking to make a proposal, you can take all the transcripts of the calls you've had and then input your proposal template, and it will fill out the proposal.
What do you mean? How's it filling out your proposal?
It's because it knows everything, because I'm putting in the call transcripts. It's everything what everyone's already said. I could put in all my follow-up emails. I could put up all my answers, all the replies that they've had throughout the sales cycle. And then I input my proposal template, and I just tell it, input all of the open fields based on the conversations we've had. And now you've completed your proposal, which would take you hours to do.
Yeah, this is tedious work that you have to do only to move forward in the process. And now you just automated this entire process.
Automate the entire thing.
Awesome.
Number 4 is most sellers, you're going to have to end up going to a forecast review with your manager or your senior sales leader. This is possibly one of the worst things for most sales reps, because you go into it and you may not be prepared for the most information. So you could input all your call transcripts. Again, pick whatever tool that you want. And then you can create a prompt to be like, give me an analysis of all my calls and tell me what are the chances of me winning it or not based on these conversations. So now you can get a thorough analysis and breakdown on what is right and what is wrong. And now you can come to the call being like, yeah, okay, this is what's going on in this deal. Here's what's going on here. I don't have this information here. And now you're prepared and you're not going to get blindsided, which most people do get blindsided at the end of the day if they're not prepared to do this. And the 5th thing I would say is for the research side on the pipeline generation. So one of the things that I do is I will actually have, it's a very, very long prompt, but I find the company and I find the person I'm looking to go after, and then I give it a breakdown of all the things I wanted to source on the internet. And so I'm just like, hey, go find their YouTube interviews, go look at their LinkedIn posts, go look at their company announcements. If it's a public company, I'll be like, go look at the 10K report, find these certain sections, and then you put your product or your solution or your offer inside of the prompt. And what it'll do is it will cross-analyze all the research and then tell you what research is relevant to what you're trying to offer them to find those pain points. So again, a lot to cover, but like those 5 things cover those 4 sections I just mentioned. And when you think about AI, that's what you should be doing. What is taking the most time right now for my team to do? And how can we get AI to get rid of that so they can focus on selling, which is what they should be doing.
And you're talking about the stuff that is tedious, the stuff that takes time, that isn't necessarily needs to be in your own voice. Like, because you're summarizing, you're looking at all this stuff. So this sounds like a pretty extensive workflow. So what does the AI workflow actually look like if you're doing this for real? Like, what are you doing? Like, do you have a pipeline, or you just do that step by step?
It depends on what tool that you're using, obviously, but the way that I go about it is just finding repetition flows. So I already have my prompt saved as what it is. I have a conversation already going, and I'm basically inputting my transcript into that to do the summary email. So I already built it. So I just put the call in there, and then it gives me the output. Same thing for the proposal. I just put the inputs in there, and then it gives me the output. It already knows what the foundational inputs are. I'm just giving it extra pieces to go from there. The workflows take time to set up, but then once you set up the workflows, it now becomes this easy repetition over and over again.
Like anything else, right? Now this is your workflow, and it sounds like it's cutting hours.
Like I had a call yesterday, flew here, and then I was like, okay, I know that I need to send a recap email. I threw it into the workflow to recap the email, and I sent it this morning. It was like, pretty good. It didn't. If that would have taken me a while to be like, okay, what did they say? Let me look at my notes. I was just like, copy, paste, emails done, cool. Add in a little bit of humanization if I wanted to, and then we're out.
So this hasn't yet hit critical mass. Not every salesperson is doing this yet.
No.
But when it does, you're going to have a lot of people doing the same thing, and they're going to be sending a lot of these cold emails via LLM, right?
Yeah.
How can you stick out? How can you be like, my email is different? Do you add a personalized touch, a human touch? Is it in your prompt?
So I'm going to go a different direction on this. So this is where you have to think about how can you be more human if there's going to be more AI, because I think most people now are getting to the point where even if it is a little bit personalized, they still think it's AI. So it's even if you took the time, people are still thinking it's a little bit of AI. So the way that I'm telling people to focus on is get better at video. So sending videos to your prospects to show that you are a human. And so through LinkedIn, I recommend people do video messages there. You can also do that in your email too. I think it's become a non-negotiable for the pipeline development, negotiation, even for renewals. You need to be doing video throughout the sales cycle and giving people updates on what's going on and sending videos to handle certain situations. If you're not doing that, I think it's a complete miss, because you have to think about every single other seller that's selling to that buyer. They are just seeing emails. And so if you're not able to incorporate that video, then it's going to be a lot harder for you to be successful. So that's what I tell people actually to combat this AI cold email. Actually, the thing you should be doing is more video And you can take the stuff you've seen successful from your emails to make it a video, but that's the lane you actually should be focused on.
This is actually cutting into a question that I wanted to ask that I mentioned I wanted to ask this before we started this, but okay. That actually cuts into it, being like, everyone's going to be sending these emails. Everyone's already looking at it like, this is
They're
probably
kind of creeping into it now.
Yeah, this is kind of like this is probably generated by an LLM.
Yeah.
The next thing is that email clients are now summarizing those emails via LLM. So you have an LLM sending the email and an email client summarizing it. Is there a way to game the summarization, like that one line, to be like, this is super interesting, I want to read this? Because you still have to get a human to click on it and read it. Is there, you think there's a possibility?
Yeah, I would say from a cold email perspective, I think what you would have to look at is what is information that people probably aren't bringing up. And that's why I bring up like the interviews or things of that nature. Like that's going to get someone probably to like check it out. Like if you think about someone who goes on an interview, if someone were to take the time to listen to it or get a summary and mention it in an email, that's going to stand out than not. But most people maybe don't go on interviews, so then it's hard to reach out to them, right? So I think the other component is you have to actually look at what is the persona actually doing, and you have to look at more relevancy at scale with the current customers that you have. So the unique advantage that all companies have is really not their features or functions of what they do. It's the customer stories that they have in market for whatever that is. So to really scale that, it's actually scaling, how do we figure out what our customer stories are? How do we figure out what our customers are saying? And then how to use that in our research, right? Using that in the subject line. It's like, if you had a subject line saying, we're working with 5 of your peers, that's like, wait, you're going to open that.
Yeah.
Because you're like, what's going on?
That's personalized.
So now you could use AI to take the customer stories, the customer success calls, to then create those emails. That's really going to be the unique advantage, because you can't replicate that. That's actually unreplicatable, because you can't come and talk about my customer stories, because then it's like, well, you didn't do that. Right? So that's actually going to be the moat for most people. It's not trying to get even more and more personalized. I think it's actually getting more and more relevant and more contextualized. Like, can you get contextualized on an industry? If you've helped a cybersecurity industry and got a lot of results there, you should probably double down there and figure out how can we get more customer stories in our emails so we can be more relevant, so people will take meetings with us.
So you mentioned something about the video, sending videos, which I would have never thought of, but obviously that makes sense, especially in the modern world where people are saying, okay, this has probably been generated by an LLM.
Yeah.
You can still put an LLM in the workflow there where you could help write the script, but have you seen recently the LLM's ability, the model's ability to create videos?
I have seen them.
So
it's getting crazy.
So there's going to be a point, dude, there's going to be a point where you say, okay, here's the script, make a video of myself giving this pitch to this person. And the whole flow is just going to be straight LLMs all the way down.
It's getting wild. Some people are like, what do we do when that happens? I don't know yet.
No,
I gotta see it. I gotta see it. So, but I see it coming.
All right. So you're a salesperson using these AI tools. Is there a way that you could actually quantifiably measure productivity? Like, are you seeing a reduction in your time? Obviously, you see a reduction in your tedious stuff. Is there other ways you can measure your productivity before and after implementing your AI workflow?
I think the most straightforward thing is if you were to, I know a lot of people probably don't want to do this, but if you were to time yourself on your task versus timing yourself incorporating AI to the task, you would see a drastic difference. That's probably the easiest thing to break down. What I would say, though, is the way that I look at it is how much time am I getting back to do money-making activities? And so money-making activities for me are pipeline generation. Am I reaching back out to current clients for maybe renewals or referrals? And then am I working with people who are potential clients to do pipeline development? So the way that I look at it is am I getting time back to do those things? That's the most easy way to quantify it. Yes, you can get more granular. In my example that I talked about where I got the emails and the LinkedIn messages and then I created different responses from that, sure, you could quantify that and see what was the increase in response rates. But really what you're doing here is quantifying how much time you're getting back to do what I said at the beginning, more active selling time. So that's like the only thing that I'm looking at. If my calendar is more clear to do more videos and more LinkedIn messages and more DMs, that's all that matters. Because the goal is that you just want to be able to spark more conversations. If you aren't sparking more conversations because you're doing a lot of admin and a lot of like grunt work that you don't really need to be doing, because AI can help you with that. So that's the way that I think about the ROI, and how every sales leader should think about this too.
This question you've already answered it, because you're talking about having many more opportunities to make many more sales because of the time that you're saving. But have you seen an actual increase in sales using these AI tools?
100%. So I would say, because now I can do, let's say the proposal. So I do video proposals. So it basically is me doing a screen share of the proposal, walking people through it. Before, I would have to create a proposal. It probably takes maybe an hour, could be more, depending on how big the deal is. Now that takes, I don't know, 5 minutes.
Get out.
Because I already have the information. I just input it and it fills it out.
An hour reduced to 5 minutes with your workflow.
Because you have to gather the information, you have to figure out what's going on, you have to think about it. If you already have the information from the calls and the follow-up emails, which is what you're taking to create the proposal, it could take you 5 to 20 minutes, depending on how big the deal is. But it's gonna take you 5 to 20 minutes because you just input it, it's gonna fill out the proposal, you then review it and say, this is exactly what I would say anyways. And also as well, if we like wanna go deeper, I can cross-analyze all the proposals I've already written, feed it to AI, and then it knows how to write as me.
It writes it in your voice.
It writes my voice because the reason it's so fast is because I've already sent it to the AI. It already knows how I write this.
Yeah, and so you're using good data. Like
Yeah,
initially,
it's the
usually,
inputs.
Yeah,
It's the inputs. So like I know it's gonna take me 5-20 minutes. I can then create a proposal and I can go do other things, right? So like that's my whole thing is like I just want as much time as possible to do pipeline generation and pipeline development, right? As a business owner, as a seller, that's what you should be thinking about. Everything else is just more things you have to do. And sure, you have to do admin from time to time. I'm not saying don't do it, but these AI frameworks and these AI processes I'm talking about allow you to do that.
You've mentioned a ton of AI tools already. How do you prevent yourself from getting caught in the weeds? Like I know, like I would look at a tool, dude. I'd be like, this is so cool. I want to do this. But how do you not get caught in the weeds with all these tools?
It's so hard. This is so random. You're gonna laugh at this. I was like, I just wanted to see how far I could take AI. So yeah, me and my friends call it real AI. We just do like random things to see how far it can go. In my balcony, I have like this garden area. I don't know. And I took a screenshot of it and I was like, hey, I've never done gardening in my life and I want some plants. And I live in Arizona. What are the 10 plants I need to get? And it gave me the 10 plants, where to go and where to buy them.
No.
Yeah.
Did you get them? Did you buy them?
I'm about to buy them when I get back.
Fine. When you get back, you gotta let me know if that is successful.
But I'm saying that as in like, that's not what we're talking about here. I'm not a botanist. So like I have nothing to give you. Not yet. But that's all I can give you on plants. But the thing is that like, I went in a completely random direction, and that can happen when you just get in a flow. So what I do is I just focus on what are the primary use cases. So really I only stick to 2 to 3. Honestly, I've had a conversation with someone about this other day, and I was like, I probably just need to stick to 1 if I really want to get more and more proficient at this. And so I recommend people like write it down, put it on a sticky note, whatever it is, stick to 2 to 3 primary use cases so it can be very consistent and good for you. So like the summary email, I know exactly how that works. Like it's locked in. I created one for my LinkedIn content. It actually is like 80% of the way there. Like it can write very good posts, and like now that I'm saying it, I guess people are gonna look now. But most of it is AI. So it just continues to just getting better on those things. But I find that like my brain deviates to like these wild use cases. Like you can actually take a photo. Like I've done this sometimes, but like my friend takes photos of his like clothing and is like, what should I wear to this event? And it'll give you opinions on what it is.
Wait, so he takes a picture of what he has and he tells him like, okay, this event is
I'm going to X event,
and this is what I need to look like.
Yeah.
What should I, and does he list it?
Yes.
Still, come on. This is a business opportunity. We could have like a style bot.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
So it just gets crazier, but the thing is like, don't go and deviate down this path, right? Unless you've done your 2 to 3 use cases. So I stick to 2 to 3 use cases. For me right now, it's like pipeline generation. How can I make it more optimized and efficient? And then translate that to more humanization. How can I get better at this proposal? And then how do I get better at the discovery and the follow process? That's like the core things I focus on.
There's a ton of options for models, stuff that you can use. Like how did you make your decision on the model that you want to use?
So I use multiple models because they have different use cases. I use one for ideation. I use one for writing and copy. I use another for just like, okay, I need to do in-depth research. I think you have to find the ones that fit best for you. My friends and I have this conversation all the time, but you just have to find the ones that are like, wait, this actually connects with me. And that's how I've done it. So I'm using multiple models and like, I mean, you know, man, I feel like a new one's coming out every day. I feel like as we even do this, like if you ask me 3 months from now, I have a completely different answer.
And so it's just trial and error, right? Like you try it out, you say, okay, this one works well. Is there anything you do to try to improve it? Is that mostly where you do your prompt engineering?
Yeah, so I will do the prompt engineering in there, and then I just try to figure out, now that I know it's for this, then my prompts for that lane will go towards that. So like I know, okay, cool, this is for ideation. So I know, okay, all my prompts for ideation need to go in here. Or like this one's for like the email writing or for the follow-up. Okay, cool. All my prompts need to go in here. So then I just know for this model, it will lead to X prompt that will then lead to this thing that I need to go get the result from.
All right, so there's a lot of tools, and for a personal use, it's probably not too expensive, but when we're talking about like organizations, there's expenses attached to it. So if you had to tell an organization, what is the one tool that is best bang for their buck, what would it be?
I wouldn't give someone a tool. I would give them this process.
The process.
I would give them a process.
So which part of the process would you say is like, okay, what is the one process that you would say this is the one that you need to focus on first?
I'll walk through a process with you all that I think everyone should do. So I think the biggest mistake that people make is they will just say, let's get this tool, then everybody needs to use it. That's the worst mistake you're going to make, because most people are not going to care. Most people are not going to know how to use it. And then if you don't have someone who knows how to actually use it, then you're going to waste your money. And that's what we call cost of inaction. I don't think anybody wants to spend millions of dollars and then it doesn't go anywhere. So what I would recommend in terms of a process is, number one, you need to figure out what problem you're looking to solve. So that's also probably why I don't want to give like an exact tool, because I don't know what problem you're trying to solve. It might be the wrong tool for the wrong problem, right? So I would say focus on what's the number one thing that we're trying to solve for. Why are we even getting AI? What are you even looking to do? Are you just getting it just cause, or like, is there a reason? Most people, if you get something just cause, you're going to get it, you're not going to know what to do with it, and it's going to waste everybody's time when they could have been doing something else. So number one is, what's the problem? The second thing is, okay, what tool can solve this problem, right? And then you figure out whatever that is. Then the next step is, who's going to own this problem and own this tool? It's not an organizational own. It's like, who's actually going to own the AI infrastructure and implementation?
Yeah, and they're going to be the one who's enabling everyone else on the tool.
Correct, which is step number 4. So then this is where you need to get 5 to 8 people that are sellers that are committed to doing this. Don't get 100 people doing it, because it's too many people, and you're gonna have to you're gonna try to wrangle around the people that aren't interested, which will waste everybody's time. So we're gonna get 5 to 8 people that are actually legitimately interested in testing out this new thing we're gonna do. You lock in for a quarter, you get results, you showcase it to the team, and then everyone's gonna be like, how do they do it? And it's like AI, and then now there will be higher adoption rates. If you give it to everyone, they're gonna be skeptical, because I'm telling you, 80% of your team's gonna be like, where's the use cases? Does this really work? Why are we doing this? And it's just annoying. So just like go to find people who are interested, get them excited about it, get them results, and then now we continuously spread that across the team. But don't get a tool until you can figure out what's the problem we're solving and what's the use case with this tool. Otherwise, you're just doing AI for AI's sake, and I don't suggest that.
Yeah, I mean, people are doing AI for AI because it is a buzzword, but the applications are incredible. But we're still, I don't think, all the way there yet. Can you think of an area that AI can improve, and what would that be?
I think it needs to, and it proven its feedback loop. If you're not as descriptive in your prompts, it's going to give you like very baseline and foundational answers. But if you like press it and you're a little bit more descriptive, it will give you really good feedback. So I think overall it just needs to get better at its feedback of like, hey, like you said this, and this is actually what you should be doing here, instead of just following along with what you said. At least this is what I've seen in doing a ton of prompting.
The feedback is brutal if you don't know how to prompt properly.
Right.
And you have to have a discerning eye also. Like, so you obviously do this a lot, so you're able to see, okay, this prompt works because I can tell and I have experience. But maybe for those junior sales roles, maybe that team that you're talking about, that 8 to 10 person team who adopted early, they could enable these junior sales roles, how to actually prompt, how to use the tool.
Because I think also the second thing is, this is not more on AI, I think it's more on people, is that they treat it like a genie. If you actually type into ChatGPT or whatever you want to do, any AI tool, it'll write a good email that it thinks it's a good email, and it's not a good email. And because it doesn't know. And so that's why you have to give it those good inputs to get those good outputs. And so I think from an AI perspective, it'd be cool if it was like, hey, you know, we've had 100,000 or 1 million results from this one query we've done a ton of times, and here's the output of it. That would be fantastic. I think seeing more of how many inputs people are putting into AI and what are the overall outputs from it, I think would be extremely interesting from the AI tools. I know they have the data, whether they show that or not, who knows, but that would also be interesting too. Because I think too many junior sellers are like, oh, I have AI now, it's a genie. It's like, no, it's not. Like, you need to be able to put good inputs in there. Otherwise, it's just not going to work out.
That brings me to the next question, which is, what do sales orgs need to avoid with AI?
The biggest thing that I see is turning to AI for all of your messaging when you already have bad messaging.
Like garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah, that's what it is. So yeah, I was at an event a couple weeks ago, and someone was like, how do we use AI to automate our messaging? And I was like, what are you doing with your messaging right now? Like, are you getting responses? They're like, no. So I was like, you should not do that. That makes no sense.
Why you continue?
Why would you continuously do bad work? But I think that's what people think is like, oh, well, if we do more, then we'll get responses. Like, no, like you currently aren't getting responses right now. Yeah. So whatever inputs you're going to put in are not correct. So you need to get manual responses, and then maybe you can start going and using AI, but like you have no good data to give AI. So what are you going to do with that? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that feedback, that loop now is, I have so much more time to send out bad emails.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't really work. That's not a particularly good way to do it.
No, so it's like, that's actually the number one mistake. Do not do this. Like, it's going to ruin everything for you because you don't have a good baseline of success. And that's a big mistake that I think most people will make.
All right, so this is actually pretty cool. You polled your audience for questions they wanted answered on this podcast. So this is one. Is it possible to build a 6-figure business using strictly AI?
Yeah, 100%. So the thing is that what I would do, it doesn't matter what platform it is, I would start to figure out what are you looking, again, kind of going back to what I said earlier, what are you looking to solve for? And so I'd go find who are those people that I would sell to based on the problem I'm looking to solve for. Reach out to them, have conversations, just, hey, I'm doing some research, talk to about 20, 30 people, like, how could you solve the problem? Then you create an offer based on the problem that they have that you can solve. And then from there, as you have conversations, all you would need to do is input that into AI to then create that offer. And then you can also input to AI and say, what would the roadblocks be if I were to create a 6-figure business as a one-person show? And it's going to tell you what the roadblocks would be. So then it's like, okay, if these are the roadblocks, what should I do if you were the only person on my team? So then now AI is going to give you the answers on that. So the thing is, like, I don't know what those answers would be because I don't know what the problem they'd be looking to solve, but it is very possible to build a 6-figure business just on AI alone, because it would give you the answers of as if it was just AI. So that's how I would do it, because you have the information. You just got to toss it to people first, and you got to input that into whatever AI tool you pick, and then you go from there.
So not everyone's a technologist, right? Like we love technology, we're really into it, and it can seem very overwhelming just from the surface. So what is that low-hanging fruit they should tackle first?
I think the biggest thing is you need to figure out what is actually taking up the most of your time and what is the biggest headache for you. And also you have to be real with yourself in this exercise. You can't like pick something that's just like easy to do. Like pick the hardest thing that's taking up the most of your time. Write out 10 things and be like, what's really going on? If you want to take an even deeper analysis, you can even audit your calendar and just look at like, where am I spending the most time? You have to write down everything that is going on, and you have to pick the biggest thing that is taking the most of your time. And that is the lowest hanging fruit for you to solve. And then you just start picking away from there. Because if you just pick what someone else says, then that doesn't make sense because it's not related to your directive life. So that's the way that I'll go about it there.
Let's just have like a really honest view of your time and have like just figure out exactly what's taking up the most time.
Exactly.
All right. So last piece of advice, what should the listeners do the second they stop listening to this podcast to improve their sales workflow?
Every time I give advice, you should only do 2 to 3 things from here. If you try to do 20 things, you're going to be overwhelmed. You won't do it, and you're going to be annoyed. So like that's just we don't want that.
Like you said, figure out the most pressing issue.
Yeah,
get started.
That's number one. Find out the most pressing issue. Write out everything that stresses you out and what takes up the most time. That is step number 1. Step number 2 is that now that you know what that problem is, then start having a conversation with AI to figure out, okay, what are the ways to solve that? And then 3, find the inputs that you already have that could potentially help expedite this process that gives you the output as well. And here's something I didn't mention is like, people are like, how do you figure out prompts? You could just ask AI for the prompt.
Here's my life. Tell me what's wrong. And then
that's literally what I do. I'm like, hey, at the end of a conversation, I'm like, hey, can you just sum up this conversation and give me the prompt for this? And it gives you the prompt. So people are like, how do you engineer? I was like, just ask an AI.
All right, listen, Morgan, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you here. Thank you for your time. And to everyone listening, thanks so much. We'll have a new AI in action on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever else you get podcasts pretty soon. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on the bleeding edge ways people are using AI in action.